So let me tell you about my job. I'm Krell, head of security at the Galactic Youth Academy, and before you get all impressed, let me clarify something. This place is basically a glorified babysitting service for the galaxy's most entitled brats. We call it an educational institution. We say things like fostering interspecies cooperation and building tomorrow's leaders. What we actually do, we try to keep these little monsters from killing each other before graduation. Now, you'd think a school representing 47 different species would be this beautiful melting pot of cultures, right? Wrong. Dead wrong. It's a food chain, pure and simple, and everyone knows exactly where they stand. At the top, the predators, the big ones, the ones whose parents have enough political pull to make my complaints disappear faster than free lunch on Nutrition Day. Let me introduce you to our star students, and yes, that's sarcasm you're detecting. First up, Zarn. He's a Crothian, which means he's basically a 7-foot-tall dinosaur with scales like armor plating and teeth that could bite through a security door. His father runs half the mining operations in the Outer Rim, so Zarn does whatever he wants. And what he wants mostly is to remind everyone that he's at the top of the food chain, literally. Then there's Thissa. She's a mindweaver, all chittering mandibles and too many legs, with those creepy compound eyes that seem to look at you from 16 different angles at once. Here's the fun part. She's telepathic, can reach right into your head and press all your fear buttons like she's playing a musical instrument. Her mother is an ambassador, so guess who can't get expelled for psychological warfare? If you guessed Thissa, congratulations, you understand politics. And finally, we've got Brock. He's a silicate, which means his entire body is basically living rock. Punch him. You break your hand. He breaks your face. You go to medical bay for reconstructive surgery. His family controls 3 trade routes, so he's basically untouchable. Also, he's dumb as a box of hammers, but when you're that big and that connected, intelligence is optional. Now these 3, they run the school. They've got their little gang, their territory, their system, and every system needs someone at the bottom. Right. Someone to remind everyone else that it could be worse. That someone is Pip. Bullies. Pip is a fleetling, from one of those high-atmosphere, low-gravity worlds where everything is light and delicate and beautiful. She's got these gorgeous wings, iridescent things that shimmer when she moves, all purples and blues and greens. She's maybe 3 feet tall, weighs about as much as my breakfast, and she's got these huge eyes that always look slightly terrified, which, considering her situation, is pretty much appropriate. Her family? Nobody important. No political connections, no economic power, no reason for me to risk my career intervening. So when Zarn and his buddies decided that breaking Pip's wings every morning was hilarious entertainment, I got to stand there, watch it happen, and file reports that went absolutely nowhere. Welcome to the Galactic Youth Academy, where we're building a better tomorrow, one broken wing at a time. Every morning, same time, same place, same sick routine. You could set your chronometer by it. The transit corridor between the dormitory wing and the main academic building, 7:30 sharp. Well, Pip would come floating down the hallway, those wings of hers beating so fast they hummed, trying to get to her first class early, trying to avoid them. Never worked. Zarn would step out from behind one of the support pillars, all casual-like, as if he just happened to be there. Thissa would drop from the ceiling, because apparently using doors is beneath her, and Brock, he'd just stand in the middle of the corridor like a boulder, blocking the only exit. "Morning, Pip," Zarn would say, showing way too many teeth. "Nice wings today, be a shame if something happened to them." And something always did. Sometimes it was quick. Thissa would use her telekinesis to slam Pip against the wall, and those delicate wings would crumple like tissue paper. Sometimes they dragged it out. Brock would grab one wing ever so gently, and just bend it, slowly, until you heard that little crack like a twig snapping, and Pip would make this sound, this little broken chirp that made my stomach turn. The worst part, she never screamed, never fought back, just took it day after day, those big eyes filling with tears she refused to let fall. Then they'd leave, laughing, high-fiving each other like they'd accomplished something. And Pip would pick herself up, cradle her damaged wings, and limp fly to the medical bay. I'd watch it all on the security feeds. Every single morning. You know what I'd do? I'd file a report. Incident number 473, Zarn Korthax, This a Mindweaver clan designation unpronounceable, and Brock Silicate 7, assault on Pip Fleetling, and you know where those reports went. Straight into the void, digital trash bin, because Zarn's father would make a call, or Thissa's mother would send a strongly worded diplomatic memo, or Brock's family would threaten to pull their generous donations to the academy. And just like that, my reports would be reviewed and deemed insufficient evidence or classified as rough play between students, or my personal favorite part of natural social hierarchy development. Natural social hierarchy development. That's bureaucrat speak for we're letting them torture her because we're cowards. The medical staff got real efficient at fixing Pip's wings. Fleetling biology is pretty remarkable, actually. Get them into a regeneration pod overnight, and by morning those wings look brand new. All the physical damage erased, like it never happened. But here's the thing about trauma. It doesn't need a regeneration pod. It just builds, stacks up.
Compounds.
I watched Pip shrink over the weeks. Not physically, her body stayed the same, but her spirit, that got smaller every day. She stopped making eye contact, stopped talking to anyone, ate alone in the cafeteria, sitting at the table in the corner that nobody wanted, flew through the corridors with her wings tucked tight, trying to make herself invisible. I got to watch it happen from my comfortable security office, sipping my morning beverage, telling myself I was just following protocol, just doing my job, just being a good little cog in the machine. Some days I hated my job more than others. Most days, if I'm being honest, I hated myself. The transfer notification hit my desk on a Tuesday. New student, species human, homeworld Earth, named Jade Kowalski. I pulled up her file and honestly, I wasn't impressed. Humans had only joined the galactic community about 30 years ago, and they were still the new kids on the block. Their planet was classified as a Class 7 death world, which sounds scary until you realize that just means has weather and predators. By galactic standards, Earth was basically a nature preserve with delusions of grandeur. The girl who showed up that Thursday morning looked like she could be knocked over by a strong breeze. Maybe 5'4" in their measurement system, which made her shorter than average for her species, and way shorter than most galactic citizens. She had this dark hair pulled back in a ponytail, brown eyes that didn't seem particularly special, and skin that looked like it would tear if you looked at it wrong. No scales, no carapace, no natural armor whatsoever, no claws, no fangs, no venom sacs, no wings, no extra limbs, no biological weapons of any kind. She was wearing the standard academy uniform, carrying a backpack that looked too big for her frame, and walking through the main entrance like she owned the place. Confidence, sure, but confidence without the hardware to back it up is just stupidity with better posture. The other students noticed her immediately. Of course, new meat always draws attention. I watched Dazarn size her up from across the commons area, then dismiss her with a snort. The sus's antenna twitched with what I'd learned to recognize as amusement. Even Brock managed to look unimpressed, which for him was practically high-level analysis. But here's what was weird. Jade didn't seem nervous. Not even a little bit. She walked through that commons area, past species that could literally eat her for lunch, and she just observed. Calm. Methodical, taking in the social dynamics, like she was reading a technical manual. She spotted the usual morning show in the transit corridor on her second day. Zarn had Pip by one wing, Tissa was doing her telepathic intimidation thing, and Brock was blocking the exit. Standard operating procedure. Most new students look away, pretend they don't see it, don't want to become the next target. Jade stopped, watched, studied. Her expression never changed, but something flickered behind those brown eyes, something cold, something calculating. Then she walked away, and I figured that was that. Another student who'd learned the rules. I was wrong. Day 3, I watched Jade approach Pip in the cafeteria. The little fleetling was sitting alone, as usual picking at her food with those tiny hands, wings tucked so tight against her back they were almost invisible. Jade sat down across from her, didn't ask permission, just sat. Pip looked up, startled, those huge eyes going even wider. "Hi," Jade said, pulling out her own lunch. "I'm Jade, you're Pip, right?" Busaim, Talus, silent, clearly waiting for the punchline, for the cruelty. "Cool," Jade said. and took a bite of whatever humans consider edible. Mind if I eat here? The other tables are too loud. No demands, no pity, no fake sympathy, just simple human kindness. Pip stared at her for a long moment, then gave the tiniest nod. And Jade smiled, not a big smile, just a small one, and went back to eating. I remember thinking that girl has no idea what she just signed up for. It became a pattern. Every meal, every break, Jade would find Pip and just exist near her. They didn't talk much at first. Pip was too scared, too broken. But Jade didn't seem to mind. She'd sit there eating her food, occasionally making small comments about classes or the weather or whatever humans talk about. And the bullies? Oh, they noticed. Look at that, Zarn said one afternoon, loud enough for half the cafeteria to hear. The Death Worlder thinks she's a hero. Thissel clicked her mandibles in amusement. How adorable. The soft little mammal wants to protect the bird. Brock just laughed, because original thought wasn't really his thing. But here's what got my attention. Jade didn't react. Didn't flinch, didn't look away, didn't show fear. She just kept eating, kept talking to Pip in that low, calm voice, like three apex predators. Mocking her was about as concerning as a light drizzle. That's not normal prey behavior. That's not even normal predator behavior. That's something else entirely. I started watching her more closely on the security feeds. The way she moved through the corridors, always aware of her surroundings but never appearing paranoid. The way she'd map exit routes with her eyes, casual but thorough. The way she'd position herself when sitting, always with a clear line of sight to entrances, back never to an open space. And then there was the library thing. Jade spent 3 full evenings in the academy library, pulling up every regulation, every rule, every policy in the student handbook. I'm talking full academic deep dive into galactic education law. She took notes, actual physical notes, with one of those primitive writing implements humans use. Because apparently, humans don't just fight. They thrust, they find the angles, the loopholes, the technicalities. It's like watching someone prepare for a legal battle and a physical one simultaneously. She's planning something, I told my assistant, reviewing the footage. Planning what? He asked. She's half their size. That's what worries me, I said. Meanwhile, the bullies were planning too. I could see it in the way they huddled together, in the way Zarn kept glancing at Jade with increasing irritation. Having someone disrespect the social order was bad for business, bad for their reputation. Thissa was particularly annoyed. She'd tried her telepathic tricks on Jade twice now, and both times the human had just looked at her funny and walked away. Like being mentally assaulted was mildly confusing rather than terrifying. We need to teach both of them a lesson, I heard Zarn say on the corridor audio feed. The freak and her pet human. Brock cracked his knuckles, which sounded like rocks grinding together. Tomorrow morning, transit corridor. Make it memorable. I should have reported it, should have warned someone, should have done something. But honestly, part of me wanted to see what would happen. Part of me wanted to watch this strange, calm human girl face the reality of galactic social hierarchy. Part of me, I'm not proud to say, wanted to see her learn her place. I'm an idiot. 7:30. Transit corridor. Right on schedule, because bullies are nothing if not consistent. Except this time, they'd changed the location. Instead of the main corridor with decent camera coverage, they'd cornered Pip in one of the maintenance access hallways. Darker, more isolated, fewer witnesses. I pulled up the feed just in time to see Zarn backing Pip against the wall, Thissa hovering above, and Brock blocking the only exit, the classic formation. But something felt different today, more aggressive, more final. You know what, Pip? Zarn said, reaching out with one clawed hand. I'm getting bored with the daily routine. Let's try something new. He grabbed her left wing, not roughly, almost gently. That's how you knew it was going to be bad. What if, he continued, his voice dropping to something that might have been conversational if it wasn't completely psychotic. What if we broke them so badly they couldn't heal? What if we made sure you never flew again? Pip's eyes went wide with genuine terror. Not the usual fear, the one she'd gotten used to. This was the primal kind, the kind that understands when a line is about to be crossed. Thissa leaned in, her telepathic presence pushing into Pip's mind, and I could see the little fleetlings start to shake. "No one will miss you," Thissa whispered. "No one cares." That's when Jade walked around the corner. She stopped about 10 feet away, hands in her pockets, expression completely neutral. For a long moment she just looked at the scene in front of her, took it all in, processed it. Then she spoke, and her voice was polite, conversational, almost friendly. "Hey, could you not do that?" The three bullies turned, and for a second they looked confused, like they'd forgotten humans could talk. Then Zarn laughed, actually laughed. "Or what, Deathworlder? You going to stop us?" "I'm asking nicely," Jade said, and she smiled. It didn't reach her eyes. "Please let her go." Brock stepped forward, cracking those rock knuckles again. "Make us soft skin." The Cessa's antennae twitched, and I saw her telepathic attack lance out, the kind that usually left students curled up on the floor crying for their parents. She hit Jade with everything she had, every fear button, every trauma trigger, every psychological weapon in her considerable arsenal. Jade's smile faltered. For just a second. Then it came back wider. "Oh," she said softly. "You shouldn't have done that." Tessa recoiled, her antenna flattening against her head. I'd never seen a Mindweaver look scared before.
What are you?"
"What's wrong?" Zarn asked, suddenly less confident. Her mind, Thyssa chittered, backing up. "It's wrong. It's all wrong. There's no fear, just hunger, calculation, violence. It's like looking into a predator's den where the predator hasn't eaten in weeks, and—" "Yeah," Jade interrupted, rolling her shoulders. "Earth's a death world, not because of the weather, because of us. We're the apex predators. We're the thing that chased every other predator into extinction. We're the species that looked at animals 10 times our size with claws and fangs and said, 'You know what? I'm going to hunt that, for sport.'" She took her hands out of her pockets, stretched her fingers. "Now," she said, and her voice dropped to something cold and flat and absolutely terrifying. "I asked nicely. I asked politely. I gave you the option to walk away." Zarn still had Pip's wing in his hand. "You're outnumbered, human, 3 against 1. "I know," Jade said, and that smile was back. "Hardly seems fair. For you." Brock charged first, because thinking wasn't his strength. That's when I learned something important about humans. They don't have diplomatic immunity. They don't have political connections. They don't have families that can make problems disappear. They have something much worse. They have absolutely nothing to lose. And that, as it turns out, makes all the difference. Brock came in like a freight train, all momentum and mass, probably planning to just body slam the tiny human into the wall and call it a day. Simple, effective, completely underestimating his opponent. Jade didn't try to stop him, didn't try to block. She just moved, dropped low, pivoted on her heel, and Brock went sailing past her, straight into the wall with enough force to crack the paneling. And here's the beautiful part. The part that made me actually laugh out loud in my security office. His crystalline body, that living rock that made him so hard to hurt. It shattered. Not completely, but enough. Chunks of him breaking off like he'd hit a mountain at full speed. "Physics," Jade said cheerfully, already spinning toward Thissa. "It's a thing." Thissa tried the telepathic assault again, pumping pure agony directly into Jade's brain. "I've seen that attack drop grown Crothian warriors. I've seen it make trained soldiers beg for mercy." Jade stumbled, grunted, her face twisted in pain. Then she kept walking forward. "That hurts," she said through gritted teeth. "That really, really hurts. But you know what? I once broke my leg in 3 places and walked 5 miles to get help. I've had food poisoning that lasted a week. I've had migraines that made me want to drill a hole in my skull. Pain and I, we're old friends." Thissa's compound eyes went wide with something like horror. She intensified the attack, and I could see Jade's hands shaking, could see sweat beading on her forehead. She kept coming. "Humans," Jade said, closing the distance, "have stupidly high pain tolerance. Evolutionary advantage. We're persistence hunters. We don't stop. We don't quit. We just keep going." She grabbed Thissa by one of her legs, and the Mindweaver's telepathic attack cut off as panic set in. Jade swung her, once, twice, building momentum, then let go. Thissa hit the ceiling, then the wall, then crumpled to the floor in a twitching heap. 2 down, Jade said, breathing hard but steady. You want to let go of Pip now, Zarn. Or are we doing this the hard way? Zarn finally released Pip's wing. The little fleetling scrambled away, eyes huge, watching this impossible scene unfold. You're insane, Zarn hissed, dropping into a combat stance. I'm twice your size. I have claws, teeth, armor plating. Yeah, Jade agreed, circling him. I have 4 billion years of evolutionary spite. Zarn lunged, claws extended, aiming for her throat. Fast. Professional. A killing strike. Jade went low again. Inside his reach, too close for those claws to be effective. She drove her elbow up into what passed for his throat, then grabbed his arm and twisted, using his own momentum against him. I heard something pop, something that didn't sound healthy. Zarn roared, tried to bring his tail around for a sweep. Jade jumped it like she was skipping rope, landed and kicked him in the knee. Not the front of the knee where his armor was thickest. The side where the joint bent. His leg buckled. No honor, I muttered, watching this unfold. No rules, just pure efficiency. She was right. This wasn't a duel. This wasn't a fair fight. This was a human doing what humans do best. Applying overwhelming tactical violence to solve a problem. Zarn tried to get up. Tried to use his size advantage. Jade grabbed a loose piece of paneling from where Brock had hit the wall and smashed it across Zarn's snout. Once, twice, 3 times. Not hard enough to kill, but hard enough to make a point. He went down. She stood there, breathing hard, still holding the makeshift weapon, and looked at each of them in turn. Brock, trying to pull himself together, literally. Thissa, semi-conscious and twitching. Zarn, bleeding and dazed. Here's how this works now, Jade said, her voice steady despite the adrenaline that had to be flooding her system. You don't touch Pip. You don't talk to Pip. You don't look at Pip. You pretend she doesn't exist. She dropped the paneling with a clatter. Because if you do, she continued, I come back, and next time I won't ask nicely first. Zarn managed to lift his head, blood dripping from his snout. You'll be expelled. My father, don't care, Jade interrupted. See, that's your problem. You've got so much to lose. Reputation, status, daddy's money. Me? I'm just a human from a nobody planet with no connections and no future. She smiled that terrifying smile again. Which means I can do whatever I want, and what I want is for you to leave her alone. She turned, walked over to Pip, who was still pressed against the wall, wings trembling. You okay? Jade asked, her voice suddenly soft. Pip nodded. Mute. Good, Jade said. Let's get you to class. And they walked away. Just walked away. Left 3 of the most powerful students in the academy bleeding on the floor of a maintenance corridor. I sat in my office staring at the screen, my beverage forgotten and cold. Well, I said to the empty room. That just happened. The medical bay looked like a war zone. Brock needed 3 hours of mineral reconstruction. Nysa had a concussion, 2 fractured legs, and what the doctors called severe telepathic feedback trauma, which apparently happens when you try to brain blast someone whose brain just doesn't care. Zorn had a broken arm, a fractured jaw, cracked ribs, and what I'm pretty sure was wounded pride that hurt worse than all the physical injuries combined. Meanwhile, Jade sat in the cafeteria eating a sandwich. She had a split knuckle and a bruise on her shoulder. That was it. The diplomatic situation exploded faster than a supernova. Zarn's father sent 17 official complaints within the first hour. Thissa's mother threatened to withdraw her entire embassy staff. Brock's family lawyers were already drafting lawsuits. And me? I got to write the report. Lucky me. I spent 6 hours reviewing the security footage, looking for the angle that would make this go away. The loophole that would let the Academy expel the human and get back to our regularly scheduled moral bankruptcy. Couldn't find one. Here's what I found instead. Jade asked them to stop. Politely, used the word please, and everything. She gave them multiple opportunities to walk away. She didn't throw the first punch. Brock charged her. That's textbook self-defense. Right there in Section 7, Subsection 4 of the Academy Code of Conduct. Then there was the proportional response clause. Jade was outnumbered 3-1 by students who were all larger, stronger, and had natural weapons. Under Academy regulations, She was authorized to use any means necessary to ensure personal safety and the safety of others. The safety of others. She was defending Pip. I found the library records. Every rule she'd researched, every regulation she'd memorized. She'd built her legal defense before she ever threw a punch. She played us, I said, leaning back in my chair. She knew exactly what she was doing. She turned our own rules against us. My assistant looked confused. So what do we do? I pulled up the final report form and started typing. We do what the rules say we have to do. We file it as justified self-defense and close the case. The families will go nuclear. Let them, I said, and surprised myself by meaning it. The footage is clear. The rules are clear. They don't like it. They can take it up with the Galactic Education Board, but the human stays. 3 days later the ruling came down. No disciplinary action against Jade Kowalski. Case closed. The family screamed. The lawyers threatened. The diplomats made angry calls. And you know what happened? Nothing. Because when you actually look at what happened, when you follow the letter of the law instead of just bowing to political pressure, the human was completely, totally, legally in the right. She'd studied. She'd prepared. She'd found every loophole, every clause, every regulation that protected her. Humans don't just fight, they lawyer. It's honestly terrifying when you think about it. 3 weeks later I'm watching the cafeteria feeds during lunch period, and something's different. Pip's wings are perfect. Not just healed, perfect. She's got them spread slightly, catching the light. All those iridescent colors shimmering like they're supposed to. And she's smiling. Actually smiling. Talking with Jade about something, using her hands to gesture, animated in a way I'd never seen before. Jade, still unremarkable, still short, still soft, still no natural weapons. She never fought again, never had to. Just goes to classes, does her homework, eats lunch with Pip. But here's the thing. Everyone gives them space now. A respectful amount of space. Zarn walks the long way around the cafeteria to avoid their table. Thysa hasn't made eye contact with either of them since the incident. Brock apparently requested a schedule change so he wouldn't share any classes with the human. The social hierarchy didn't collapse. It just adjusted, recalibrated. There's still a pecking order, still a food chain. But now everyone knows, you don't touch what a human decides to protect. I've been updating our security protocols, added a new section specifically about humans. Under threat assessment I wrote, extreme caution advised. Species demonstrates disproportionate protective instincts combined with tactical planning and alarming pain tolerance. Do not assume physical limitations indicate actual limitations. When befriending other students, treat as potential diplomatic incident waiting to happen. My supervisor asked if I was joking. I told him to review the medical bay reports and get back to me. He approved the protocols without further comment. So yeah, that's my job now. Keeping the galaxy's elite safe from bullies, disasters, and apparently friendly humans. Turns out the friendly ones are the most dangerous. Who knew?